Still trying to figure out what are the next moves for this Duke basketball team. Players making NBA draft decisions, transfer portal decisions, and so much more. Tired of waiting, and I know a lot of other Duke fans are too.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. Thanks so much for being here with us today on Tuesday, April 15th, 2025. Locked On Blue Devils is your one-stop shop where we discuss everything going on inside the life of Duke athletics, and we focus a whole lot about what's taking place with this Duke men's basketball team. Talking about the end of the season that was for Duke with the Final Four exit against Houston. Our good friend Conor O'Neill from Devils Illustrated makes his return to the program to break that all down. Here's some updates as we're continuing to just wait on these decisions to be played out and made from various Duke basketball players in regards to their plans for next season. If you have not done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils for free, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. Also, make sure that you watch our show each and every day on YouTube. Be a part of our YouTube community. Like these videos, share them with your friends, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, as that support really helps us out a whole lot. Without further ado, let's bring him on into the program. Conor O'Neill is here with us on today's show. Conor, I hope that you're doing well, my friend. Tell us how the last few days have been for you since the Duke basketball season came to a close.
Been all right. It's a weird feeling. Like I've come to really like covering basketball.
Yeah.
And not to say that I dislike covering the other sports, but I've come to figure out that I like covering basketball the most. So it's always weird when the season ends and you have no more games to cover, and it's just kind of like that. I get it. It's part of the job to cover all the other crap, but when it's in the season, when I can dig my hands into like the Ken Pom numbers and the breaking down what to expect in a game and writing features and columns and that kind of thing within the flow of a season, that's when I feel my best. So
yeah, and now you transition out of it, and now it's like, now we got to wait for the next season to come around, and everybody wants to know the answers to the questions about what does next year's roster look like and that sort of thing. So I want to get to that here in just a moment, but simply put, let's go back to kind of that Final Four. It's a game that I've been talking about for over a week now, and we're getting closer to the end of this discussion, fortunately. But as someone who was there watching it unfold and seeing kind of the worst 10 minutes of the Duke basketball season at the most inopportune time, how did you take all that in? What was standing out to you?
That 6-point possession that Houston had was a killer. You think about the ball goes through the bucket and you think Duke is going to get the ball back, and all of a sudden you have a review. They determine Mason Gillis threw an elbow. Probably a little bit of embellishment by, I can't even remember the Houston guy that sold it a little bit, but it was an elbow that shouldn't have been up that high and caught somebody in the face. And all of a sudden Houston's got another. Did they make a 3 on that possession? Was another 3 points they added?
It was a big possession.
Like yeah. I've already put the yellow legal pad stuff,
and I've tried to delete everything myself.
Yeah. So that 6-point possession was really the turning point in the game. Felt like when Duke scored, I think Cooper Flagg, like, what was it? Proctor made 2 free throws, and on the next possession, Cooper Flagg made a 3 to make it a 9-point game. Still felt like Duke was pretty much safe. It was just going to be a free throw game. And then Tyrese Proctor missed a free throw. They couldn't inbound the ball. Just like I wrote, it was like watching a team hit the Plinko board, like hit every single mistake you can make in a game to lose it. Gosh, even after the turnover on the inbound, Houston misses a shot and Duke doesn't box out, and they get an easy 2 points on a backside rebound. So, man, I hate to the way I think of things, obviously, with the 2 teams I cover. I saw 2 games this year where the team I covered did every single thing wrong in the last 2 minutes that you can do to lose a game. And that was Wake Forest at home against Florida State. And that was one of the beginning of the end points of their season down the stretch. And then I watched Duke do everything they could do wrong for the last 2 minutes of a game to lose, and it just happened to be in the Final Four.
And so, yeah, it's a tough exit. Then they play the national championship game, and you feel like this Duke team was built to win it all. It felt like they were kind of destined to make that happen, and that just was not the case. So we saw the end of the season come. 35-4, ACC champs, ACC tournament champs, and a trip to the Final Four. And yet it still feels like you need a little bit of time to fully appreciate the season that was because of feeling there was so much potential to win it all.
Yeah, it's just it's kind of like if either one of John's first two teams have the type of season that Duke had, given the talent levels, it's a heck of a season. It's a hell of a success. I don't think there's anything to be bitter about. But with this team and this talent level and this how together this group was,
yeah,
I think you have to be realistic in saying that as good as the highs were in this season and as good of a year as it was, it's still an unfinished season. It's still, there's still meat left on the bone. This team did not hit its ceiling when it mattered most in that final weekend of the year. And so they're going to go down in kind of ominous history with the 99 Duke team that was, in the analytics era, those are the two best teams in KenPom. I think 28 years or 29 years, something like that. And neither one of them won the championship. And so that's kind of the company that this team is going to have. It's unfortunate. It was, we're not, the most obvious thing in the world I can say is this team was good enough to win a national championship. Yeah. We knew that in November, but yeah, it's going to sting for a while, and it's going to sting John for a while because, it's going to open up the question of if you can't win a championship when you have Cooper Flagg and all these other guys, when do you win a championship?
Yeah, and that's just the unfortunate question that's going to be there. I still haven't lost hope in the ability to do that under his leadership and that sort of thing. And I know many people are in that same boat, including yourself. When you look at what this Duke team was able to do throughout the course of the season, just truly remarkable. Getting all the pieces to buy in and to play for one another the way in which they did was just something to behold each and every week. And so really enjoyed watching them play. Let's have a little bit more thoughts on that after we take our first break here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at GameTime. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game, and they get started soon. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena, and with GameTime, you can be a part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. GameTime makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, even when demand is sky high. Prices on the app actually go down as tip-off gets closer, and their last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. Unbelievable stuff. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. GameTime is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Okay, we're talking about the end of the year for the Duke basketball team, a Final Four exit for the Blue Devils, a 35-4 record, and we're talking kind of about the job that Jon Scheyer did bringing this team together. I asked Jordan this question yesterday, talking about if you look at next year's team or future teams for Duke, what's maybe one trait that's going to be the most difficult to replicate? And he made the point about camaraderie. Speak to that. Or are there any other kind of traits that you think come to mind in terms of replicating it?
Yeah, as much as I hate to follow Jordan's lead on this, I think he's absolutely right.
Yeah.
And that is completely tongue in cheek there. This team, I think the best quote that I got on it all year was talking to Mason Gillis after they won the ACC championship. And this team came together really early in the summer when they all actually got together on campus. Not sure if that was when Common was in town before going over to the Olympics. I think it was before Cooper went out to Vegas to practice with the USA team, but they just realized early on it was a lot of like-minded guys. They had a lot of age ranges covered, from Cooper Flagg as a 17-year-old to Mason Gillis as a 23 or 24-year-old. But there were that camaraderie, that togetherness. They established it really early, and it carried them through a long period of time. I mean, that you think about, you go 35-4, you don't have all that many down times. Like you don't have a week or two in the season where nothing goes right. They never even came close to losing back-to-back games, I don't think.
Right. Yep.
But this was a team that really everybody we talked to all year told us it was the most fun they had playing basketball. It was the closest team they'd ever been on. At least everybody that I heard from when that topic came up, that's what they talked about. And so that's going to be tough. That doesn't always happen. You don't always get all 15 people to set aside their egos and play for the common goal. And that's going to be really difficult to replicate.
Duke was able to pull it off this year, and a big reason why they were able to be so successful. Talking about maybe on the court traits and things that really made this team stand out, I was talking about the ability for this team to just show up regardless of the style of fight or game that they were walking into. It really felt like they were just, I don't know, they were able to mold very easily together and play fast, slow it down if they needed to, always giving it their best on the defensive end of the floor.
Oh, every piece fit. I mean, you think about what this team could do to you defensively. They could win games both outscoring you and holding you to 50 points and making you play your worst offensive game of the year. They did that to several teams throughout the year. That, I'm not talking about doing it to Miami or Boston College. I'm talking about doing it to Wake Forest and Carolina, like the teams that were in the top echelon of the ACC. Not that says much of anything given what the conference was this year. But yeah, I mean, I have faith in the defensive stuff being repeatable because we saw it with John's team 2 seasons ago with that Derek Lively team. I still think the hallmark principles of John's program at Duke or teams at Duke are going to be 3-point shooting and defense.
Yeah.
And it's specifically on defense, the switchability that they can present problems to you switching 1 through 5, and they can actually switch 1 through 5 instead of just saying that they switch 1 through 5, but not actually being able to do it. Offensively, it's going to be interesting where the engine shifts. And I think we're going to get into this in the next segment probably, but like not having Cooper Flagg as your engine offensively. It's going to look a little different. And I think there's going to be some more evolution to what Duke's offense looks like going forward.
Yeah, one hell of a player, Cooper Flagg. That's kind of where I wanted to, before we get into kind of the future stuff and what's ahead, kind of the last thing that took place as the season is coming to a close and as we end a regular season and championship run for college basketball, we start to see these award races finalized. It was Janai Broome and Cooper Flagg that were the headlines throughout the strong course of the year, and we see Cooper Flagg walk away with pretty much every single award imaginable for the season that he had. Getting to watch, I know it's just so fresh and everything, and you mentioned earlier how much basketball has become an enjoyable part of the job that you have. But I mean, you just spent a whole season watching Cooper Flagg play at the highest level.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if I said it on your show or not. I don't know if I've said it on any. I think he's the best player I've seen at the college level. Yeah. I think I've never seen a player who's able to impact the game on every single level the way that he was able to do that this year. It's crazy for me to say that. I know it's crazy to say that about a freshman. I know, and not only a freshman, but one that was supposed to be in high school basketball this year.
A young lad.
Probably would have been that probably would have been the most wasted high school season in the history of basketball if he had to play another year
Good
of high
point.
school ball.
Yeah. What am I doing here?
Yeah. But just from everything that he was able to do, from his defensive instincts to his shooting and scoring touch. I mean, I go back to my preseason hot take that he wasn't going to average 15 points a game, and he almost averaged 20.
Yeah.
Because his offensive game evolved at such a high clip from what he did at Mount Verde and what he did on the AAU circuit to then what he was able to do at the college level, getting every team's best shot. He was the top of the game planning chart for every single team. And I go back to I don't exactly remember what game it was or even the time frame of the season, but there was one game where he'd been knocked around a bit, and I asked him, if it ever got frustrating that he knew that he understood and knew other teams were going to be as physical as they could with him to try to throw him off his game. He just told me no, because he's been dealing with that since he was in 8th grade. And it's just like, okay, yeah, I got you on that one. He's a generational talent. I don't know that I've seen another generational talent at the high school level. I mean, I think of the generational talents in my age range. I'm 35. Yeah. I think LeBron, KD. I never saw KD when he was in college for that year at Texas. Victor Wembanyama never played a college game, so I'm kind of, when you talk about generational talents, he's the one that I've seen at the college level, and I'm fortunate enough to have seen it up close and personal and live for the majority of Duke's season.
Yeah, and now we're just sitting here with that generational talent, waiting for an announcement to take place for him to go off to the next level and to start his professional career. And in some ways, you talk about, feeling like you're wasting a year in high school. The argument to come back for another year, is that not the same point to be made? What are you doing in college when you're already ready to go to the next level and play in the NBA?
And it's also like, I don't know how much this is actually talked about. It's all about a race to get to the second contract. It's all about the race to get off of your rookie deal, where you're limited in how much money you can make and get to that max deal. And Cooper Flagg is going to get to the max deal when he's going to hit free agency when he's 22 or 23 years old.
Yeah, early.
And he's either going to re-sign with whoever wins the lottery and picks him number 1, or he's going to go somewhere else for a little bit less money. And I think I've already seen, I think it was Hoops Weiss said, it doesn't matter where Cooper Flagg goes, he's just going to play 4 years there and then sign with the Celtics. Well, I don't know about looking that far into the foregone conclusion of this, but that would make sense given where he grew up, given his affinity for the we've all, at this point, we've all heard and read the stories about him watching the VHS tapes of 80s Celtics teams on the way to basketball practices, and that's where he kind of gained his instincts from, that and his mom's tutelage. So I don't know that I can make any more jokes about Cooper Flagg because people will take me seriously, but the kid is not going to play a sophomore season at Duke. It's just not going to happen.
Well, what else is about to happen? What are these other things that we're waiting on? There's a little teaser for you as we get set to take our final break here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. when I started using Monarch Money, I was able to make surprising insights, like just how much I was spending on things like food delivery. And now I'm able to budget smarter and save more. Managing apps is smoother than ever with the easy collaboration that you're able to have with Monarch Money. Take control of your finances. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Monarch Money is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. All right, here we are with Conor O'Neill from Devils Illustrated talking about the end of the year for this Duke basketball team and where things currently stand here on the morning of April 15th and talking about decisions that lie ahead for this Duke basketball team. So nobody has declared for the draft. Nobody has entered the transfer portal. Nobody has said, I'm transferring to Duke to play basketball. They haven't made any additions to their high school recruiting class and that sort of thing. So what does this kind of up in the air timeline look like, Conor?
I think it starts getting sorted out pretty soon. I mean, yeah. I do think I looked it up. I've already forgotten it. I think April 26th is the deadline. So there's still a week and a half for guys to say that they're entering the NBA draft and put in the paperwork with their agents and that kind of thing. I don't think it's going to be a flood of Cooper Flagg, Conka Nipple, and Kamen Malawach all declaring on April 25th. I think we start getting those knocked out sooner rather than later. The other piece of this equation is kind of shifting and evolving on a daily basis, maybe on an hourly basis. I've gone through the whole season thinking Duke's starting five is gone.
Yeah.
That's the 3 lottery picks as freshmen. Sion James out of eligibility. And then Tyrese Proctor, it's felt like he accomplished everything that he needed to accomplish. He's played so well. He's experienced a lot in the college career. I'm still not at the point where I'm saying it's likely Tyrese Proctor is back for a senior season, but I think there's more of a chance than I've been willing to give it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like there's a little bit more of a chance there with Tyrese coming back for a senior season. I think I said this on the radio yesterday. There's a team calling around about North Carolina kids trying to make an impact with a first-year coaching staff. I don't know if I need to beat around the bush anymore about that.
Yeah. What's up, NC State?
Yeah, and there's a player on Duke's roster that had some sporadic usage. Played 19 minutes in the NCAA tournament first-round game and then 19 in the next 4 games combined. So if you just look at the boilerplate stuff, like that is a player you want to ask, hey, are you happy where you are? Because we can give you this much more money. We can give you this much more of a role. We can promise some things that you're not going to be promised at your current place. I mean, that's the way the transfer portal works, right? And I put something out on Twitter yesterday about how like everybody in the transfer portal, the teams that are shopping in the portal seem to see every player as the best version of what they can be, while the teams that have the player are more familiar with that player's faults. And so there tends to be some overvaluing and undervaluing. It skews too far in both directions. So I'm curious what Isaiah Evans does. I think that's the one that's out there right now for Duke. We need to figure out what Caleb Foster does. He's again, it's worth reiterating or repeating. Like I'm giving away the story that'll never be written, like the story that I was going to write on the Sunday between Duke winning a Final Four game and playing in the national championship was how many players on Duke's roster grew up Duke fans.
Mm-hmm.
Like Caleb Foster's front and center there. Caleb, I think we all know that at this point. Caleb grew up a Duke fan. So where you're looking in one part of it, where you're looking at a guy who spent a chunk of the season as a starter and then had his role reduced over the course of the year, maybe growing up a Duke fan means he's not as much of a transfer likelihood as you would think. So we're going to figure it out. Duke does not need to be aggressive and bring in, 4 or 5 guys in the transfer portal like some other schools. They might only need 1 or 2 guys in the portal. We're just the first dominoes have to fall with who's coming back and who's going into the portal, and then Duke can figure out what they need to go get in the portal.
Well, and then looking at the portal, its timeline as well, there's only a week left really in the window for the basketball season to be played out. So for players to go in and say, I want to transfer, that is also kind of word to, hey, this is going to happen pretty soon here if there's only 1 week kind of left on the clock.
Yeah, the important part to remember there is the deadline is just to enter the portal. There's no deadline to exit the portal other than when the fall semester starts.
Right.
So I don't know how much that needs to be said. I had to explain it to Wake Forest fans actually earlier this week. If you have a guard that wants to play college basketball, you might want to contact Wake Forest. But you can, as long as you enter the portal, you can exit it whenever.
Take your time making the decision after that. Yeah.
Yes.
It was 10 or 12 days into May before Duke had Theon James commit to the program this past season. So, but yeah, just to get in there, it's important to go ahead and do that within this next week.
Right.
So, yeah, I think Isaiah Evans is the one named to kind of watch there. And then it feels weird, but players like Pat Gongba, Darren Harris, some of your kind of further down the bench rotation guys, even Malik Brown hasn't really said anything. And yet we feel a need to hear things from players given where the state of the sport is, man.
Yeah, I get that part of it. God, I hate the I'm back posts from somebody that's like, well, you just played a freshman season there, and I didn't think you were
Good
leaving,
job coming back. Yeah.
But thanks for telling me that you're back.
Yeah.
I hate that that's where we're at. I can't wait until we're out of this transitional period of college athletics and we have, hopefully collective bargaining and contracts and transparency and like a kid signing up to spend his first 2 years,
right.
That kind of thing can't get here soon enough. But
well, we'll see how it all unfolds. And I know that you'll be on top of it with all your coverage. Tell people about all your work and how they can support you, Conor.
Yeah, hit up Devils Illustrated, duke.rivals.com. I want you to go there for scoops, for me trying to keep up on all this stuff, but more than anything, go there for quality coverage and content. I really I want to tell stories. It's what I want to do, and hopefully you can go there and support it.
Absolutely. Thanks for the time, Conor. We'll do it again soon, okay?
Thanks, JJ.
All right, that's Conor O'Neill. He's joining us here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Always appreciate his time, and please make sure that you do go and support everything that he's got going on there over at Devils Illustrated. Be sure to follow us on X at LO_Blue Devils. We're also on Instagram and TikTok. Give us a follow over there. Make sure that you follow and subscribe to our podcast for free wherever it is that you get it, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.